Good morning, children. Welcome to your English video lecture. Children, today we will be doing English literature. Right? We are doing English literature. Previously also we did the chapter from your book Honeycomb, and the chapter was by the name The Ashes That Made Tree Bloom. Right? And we have already completed the chapter, and I uploaded the video of the chapter on Ursal also, so you can go and check out the video. Here we will be taking a new lesson from your book An Alien Hand, okay, which is your supplementary reader, and we will be starting the chapter by the name The Cop and the Anthem. Okay, this is the chapter that we are going to start today. So what is about the chapter, what are we going to read, that we will discuss a little bit later. But before we move on to the chapter, let's first read that before you read section that is given in the book. Have you ever found yourself in a situation in which what happens was the opposite of what you expected? So there are many situations in our life where we feel that something that we expect, that doesn't goes our own way, that doesn't goes on the way that we want it to be like, right? So this is the first question that before we start the chapter is put before us, that has it ever been, has it ever happened to you that where you have an expectation from a situation that yes, this is going to be the final result of the situation, but while you are you have that expectation in your mind, but the things just turn out to be just different, and what you have expected, you have not got that that thing or that particular part of the expectation. If so, you are familiar with the irony of the situation, which is often embarrassing. So if you have ever been in a situation where you have expected something to happen, but it the whole idea, the whole situation didn't go your way, so you might have, if you have faced such situations, the irony of the situation, and that how embarrassing it becomes for you, because the expectation didn't the expectation that you had, it didn't happen, and that makes you like embarrassed, that what I have thought, and it didn't went that way. So that is a kind of embarrassing situation, right? The story that you are going to read has a number of such situations. So the chapter that we are going to, the lesson that we are going to start today is full of these type of situations, where we will see that how the expectation, the person that the story is all about, he expect a certain situation to go in a way, but the situation just take out a different turn unexpectedly, and how embarrassing he feels at those times. This is the whole story that we are going to read. Now students, before we move into the story, I would like to give you a small introduction part of the story, so that you get the introduction, that what we are going to what you should expect from the story. So basically this story is a humorous one, because the situation that the story that we are going to study is about a man by the name Sophie, okay, and how his life, his expectations turns out, and how he feels embarrassed in different kind of situations. So that particular thing is quite a humorous touch to it. It has a humorous touch to it also, but it also contains the irony, little ironies, that we must have our eyes on, that how this situation turns out to be different, and how they you can say how it makes him to feel that situation that we are reading, we are in the lesson we are reading. It feels as if for us it is humorous, but for that person it is quite a tragedy, or you can say unexpected situation that are coming in front of him. Okay, so the story is basically a humorous story, you can take it that way. And he a person by the name Sophie, who is a you can say who is a person who wanders around. Okay, he doesn't have his home, he doesn't have a place to live, so the whole time what he does is he always roams around here and there. Okay, he was young, but he didn't he didn't have any kind of job. So what he actually wants to do, when the winter is just approaching, so he feels that now as the winter is approaching, so he cannot live like the way he is living right now. He cannot wander around here and there and just live his life. So he decides that now he wants to get arrested for 3 months as the season of winter is coming. So what type of different efforts he put and does, what type of different things he does so that he could got the punishment of being arrested, and how and when he decided at the end, when he tried all those sort of things that he had in mind, that if I do this I might get arrested for it. So that those things that he tries everything, and at the end when he has tried every part of it, and he feels that now this is so frustrating. So at the end he decides that now he wants to live a dignified life. Okay, but at that moment when he decided that, he just got arrested. Okay, so now not to harm, and the reason for him being arrested was not because he harmed someone or he does something bad, but for arguing with a cop. That was the reason that he was arrested for. So now let's move on to the story and see that how Soapy turned out to be in prison, and what type of different you can say different conditions he put forward so that he could go to jail. Okay, now we so students, here we will be doing the reading section. I will be reading the chapter also, and will be explaining the chapter to you also. So now let's start. Soapy moved restlessly on his seat in Madison Square. There are certain signs to show that winter is coming. Birds begin to fly south. People want new warm coats, and Soapy moves restlessly on his seat in the park. When you see these signs, you know that winter is near. So here the approach that the winter is approaching, that is shown to us. That Soapy, he is he's sitting on a bench in the park, and he is sitting there restlessly. He is thinking about something. He is being restless as he is when he is observing his environment. He can see that the birds are flying from the flying to south, as now to to the north. What is going to happen? It is going to be the winter season, so the birds are flying to south. Okay, and the people, they are going to the shopping malls or shopping to get new coats for them, to get new warmer for them. And Soapy, he is all restlessly, he is sitting up there and thinking something. So these are the signs that shows that the winter is near. These are the signs when when Soapy is being nervous, that what is going to happen with me. And when birds are flying to the south part of the section south side, and when people are going to the shopping malls to buy new coats, new warmers, as it feels that the winter is nearly approaching, so they all are trying to buy the clothes that could keep them warm. Okay, and this is the situation where you can see or observe that the winter is nearly approaching. A dead leaf fell at Sophie's feet. That was a special sign for him that winter was coming. It was time for all who lived in Madison Square to prepare. So when Sophie was sitting on the bench, then it's the dry leaf fell on him. That was a special sign to indicate that this that winter is coming. That was a special sign for Sophie that winters are coming, and it was time for all the people who lived in Madison Square to prepare themselves. That's you can understand that in Madison Square the winter are quite they are quite cold. They have this sense that the winters are approaching, so they are preparing themselves for the winter, as they are going to buy different type of clothes, buy the warmers, so that they could warm themselves while the winter is there. So that is the thing that they are doing. And for Sophie, these situations are making him restless, as he knew that as winter is coming. So for him it is very difficult to to make himself calm, as he has no place to go, right? Sophie's mind now realized that fact. The time had come. He had to find some way to take care of himself during the cold weather, and therefore he moved restlessly on his seat. So now when Sophie is observing, in front of Sophie, everything is happening. The leaves are falling, birds are flying to the south, people are going to the market to buy the warmers and clothes for themselves. So these situations, these signs are making Sophie realize that now it is the time where I have to find a alternative for my livelihood. I have to find something for myself, so that I could move to that place and I could protect myself from the winter. He had to find some way or the other, right, to take care of himself. So these are the thoughts that he was going on in his mind when he was sitting on the bench in the garden. Okay, and as he was thinking about all of these thoughts, so he was restlessly moving, okay, at his seat. Soapy hopes for the winter were not very high. He was not thinking of sailing away on a ship. He was not thinking of southern skies or of the bays of Nepal. 3 months in the prison on Blackwell's Island was that he wanted. 3 months of food every day and bed every night. 3 months safe from the cold north wind and safe from cops. This is what Soapy wanted most in the world. So Soapy, actually, when he is thinking about all of the situation, that where now he has to go so that he could protect himself, so he is thinking about the alternatives, right? He's thinking about that what he can do. So while he was thinking about the situation that yes, I could can go there, but I don't want to. So what are the places that he thought about? He thought about to go to the southern skies. Okay, then he thought about to go to the Nepals. He also thought about to sailing on the ships, but then he decides that he doesn't want all these of things, because these are pretty troublesome for him, right? As you can see that how freely he wants to live his life, so he doesn't want any kind of hardship in his life. So what he decides that he wants himself to be arrested, so that he could be sent to a prison, and for 3 months he would have his food free, he would have his free bed for night, and 3 months he would be safe from the cold weather of the north. So this is the alternative that he chooses for himself, that he, as he was a person who doesn't want to do anything, so the simplest way that he could find was that he wanted himself to be arrested for something, so that he could be sent to a prison for 3 months. For years, Blackwell's Island had been his winter home. Richer New Yorks made their plans to go to Florida or to the shore of the Midland Sea each winter. Soapy made his small plan for going to the island. So here Soapy's, Blackwell's prison is the place where Soapy used to go all the time when the winter is approaching. Okay, so you can understand that this is the plan that he have for almost all the times, right? People, they move to different parts, they move to different places, but the only safe home that Soapy found for himself is the Blackwell Island. Okay, that is a small escape plan for him to to protect himself from the cold weather. And now the time had come. 3 big newspapers, some under his coat and some over his legs, had not kept him warm during the night in the park. So you can see that he kept himself warming by covering and wrapping himself with newspaper. Right, 3 newspaper was on his feet, 3 was on which he was sitting. Okay, so how Soapy keep himself warm? He used newspaper, and with the newspaper he covered himself. But those newspapers wrapping, that does they cannot help Soapy to get the warmness for the winter. Okay. So Soapy was thinking of Ireland. Now, there were places in the city where he could go and ask for food and a bed. These would be given to him. He could move from one building to another, and he would be taken care of through the winter. But he liked Blackwell's Island better. So here, students, what it is to you can see that what there are different information about Soapy that is given to us. Okay, that he if he wants, he can go and he can get shelter from other places also. He can wander around in buildings also. He can also find foods and bed for himself. But as you can understand that how lazy Soapy is, Soapy could keep his body and soul together by begging, right? He could go and beg for it, but the reason that he is not doing it, because he might be asked to do in return for something, right? These are the things that are in his mind, as he doesn't want anyone to be, he doesn't want to do anything. So he is just basically looking the smartest way out from it. He wants to get the free food, get the free place to live, and he wants to also keep himself, he is getting a shelter also if he goes to the Blackwell's prison, right? Soapy's script was proud. If he went to any of these places, there were certain things he had to do in one way or another. He would have to pay for what they gave him. They would not ask for money, but they would make him wash his whole body. They would make him answer questions. They would want to know everything about his life, right? So as you can see that what is the reason that Soapy is not going and finding a place for himself is because Soapy's idea of living is that he is a proud person. He doesn't want to be, you can say, controlled, or you can say that he doesn't want to do different type of work. So what is he doing? He is generally just spending his life without doing anything, right? There are certain things that he had to do, right? If he is looking for a house and looking for shelter, and someone offers him that, but in exchange he must have to do something, right? Maybe it doesn't mean that he has to pay for it, but it doesn't also mean that he doesn't have to do anything. Maybe he have to do the household chores. Yeah, maybe he had to answer the question that they are asking. They basically would be excited, not excited, but they would be asking different type of questions from him, so, and asking him that what are the different situations that he is facing. So you can realize, you can see here that he doesn't want to be a person who is begging for anything. And he also he the reason is because he might be asked to do something in return that he doesn't want to do, right? No prison was better than that. The prison had rules that he would have to follow. But in prison, a gentleman's own life was still his own life. Soapy, having decided to go to the island, at once began to move towards his desire. So what happened? As yes, there are different type of rules, regulations in prisons also, but in prisons a person's life is in his own hands. Whatever he wants to do, he can do. There are rules and regulation that they have to do this in particular time, they have to perform these duties. But that doesn't mean that those prisoners, or the idea of being in prison will come in front of the personal space that he personally has. Because if he is going to move out with a person who is helping him, they maybe ask something in return. But being in prison, that will not being in prison will not be anything than. So at the end, Soapy decides that now what is the alternate that he has chosen. That is that he will go and he will be arrested for some or the other reason. Okay, so this was the first section of the lesson, students. Now we will be discussing the second part of the chapter, where we will see that what are the methods, what are the different kinds of different kinds of methods that he used to get arrested, and how was he able to, was he able to get arrested or was not. Okay, and what are the humorous situations that came in front of him, which was really embarrassing for him, because the thing that he first, imagined, or you can say he has, predicted that how the things will go, it totally went off the track. Okay, so now let's see that. There were many easy ways of doing this. The most pleasant way was to go and have a good dinner at some fine restaurant. Then he would say that he had no money to pay. And then a cop would be called. It would all be done very quickly. The cop would arrest him. He would be taken to a judge. The judge would do the rest. So the first way, right, the first way that he was thinking about is that the simplest way that could be, done, things could be done so that he could go to the prison, was that first of all he would go, okay, and he would have a very good nice dinner at a very fine restaurant. And while he is done with his dinner, while, when he is done with his dinner, when he is done with all the tasting of the dainties, then what he will do, he will say that he don't have any money to pay for it. So if he as he is not able to pay for it, so what will happen, the owner of the restaurant, they will call the cops. And when they will call the cops, what will happen, as the cops are called, he has to, he would be taken to the judge, right, and the judge will do the rest part, where he would be arrested for around 3 months. Okay, this is the simple plan that he thought about, and he had this in his mind, that in this plan, if this plans work, it is very, you can say this, if this plan goes according to his his way, or his imagination, he would be, the person who would be benefited from it. But but this was all in his mind. The execution of the plan is still not done, right? So this is what he has thought, that he would be, he would go to the place, he would have a very fine dinner, very good food he will eat, and after eating the food, he will tell the restaurant owner, or the restaurant the waiter, that he does have any money to pay for it. And if he's as he doesn't have anything to pay for it, so a cop will be called, and when the cop will come, he will arrest him, and he would be quickly taken to the judge, in front of the judge, and the judge will be the person who will do the rest. Okay, so this is the smooth plan that he was thinking about in his mind. Soapy left his seat and walked slowly out of Madison Square to the place where the great street called Broadway and Fifth Avenue meet. Okay, so Soapy, what he did, when he was thinking about the simplest plan that he could think of, he slowly walks up, slowly stands up, started walking to walking out of the Madison Square to the place where the great street called Broadway and Fifth Avenue meets. So he went to a place where the streets of Broadway and Fifth Avenue meets. He went across this wide space and started north on Broadway. What he did next, he started to cross that way, and he then moves to the northern part of the Broadway. He stopped at a large and brightly lighted restaurant. So where he stopped when he was doing what? He was looking for a really big restaurant where he could go and he could have his dinner, he could have his food, and after eating, then the plan that he has in his mind can be executed, right? So he was looking for a very very big, very famous restaurant, so that if he goes there and if he refuses to pay for it, so what so it is like very simple for everyone to understand that it will happen, that there there's a cop who will come and arrest him, right? So this is all that is going in his mind. And while he was crossing the Broadway, Broadway streets and all that, he was thinking he was basically looking for a restaurant which was really big, and he found one where the restaurants was really bright. The lights were shining there. This was where the best food and the best people in the best clothes appear every evening. And which restaurant he chooses? He chooses a restaurant which was best known for its food, right? It was famous for the food items that they have, and the people, they are, they come there, they have the beautiful dresses that they could wear, and then they appeared to the restaurant to eat their food. As the famous was, as the food was famous, as the people who come there, they are expected to be dressed accordingly. So you can understand that how high ended the restaurant was. That is the restaurant that Soapy chooses. Soapy believed that above his legs he looked all right. He then believed, he has this idea in his mind that above his leg he looks very fine. His face was clean, his coat was good enough. If he could get to a table, he believed that success would be his. So the idea that was going in his Soapy's mind was that, as the restaurant was pretty high ended, people who are coming there, they are nicely dressed. So he, if someone who doesn't have that dress accordingly, they cannot enter the place, right? So the idea in Soapy's mind was that, the upper part of my body, from where he is wearing the waistcoat and all of that, that is pretty good, it is nice, it is presentable, that he thought that my face is clean. So if I could be selected from the upper part of my body, I could go inside and have a table for myself, and then I could execute my plan where he wanted to eat the food, and after eating the food he wanted to get arrested after eating the food, as he was not going to pay for the food that he had eaten, right? Yes, children, so here I will be ending this video. Okay, this is the first section, or you can say first part of the video. The rest chapter we will discuss in the second part of the video. And if you have any doubt related or queries related to this chapter, you are free to ask me in your classes. Thank you, everyone.